Good morning, welcome to day 3 of London Collections Men on SHOWstudio. Today we're going to be talking about Sankuanz, the new GQ China, well not new actually, second season of GQ China designer. And we're going to start with intros, if you want to go ahead.
Hello, my name is Tian Han. I'm a London-based fashion writer. I'm currently working for GQ and GQ Style China.
Hello, I'm Hettie Judah. I'm a writer-editor and I specialise in fashion, art and design.
Hi, I'm Tianwei Zhang. I'm a freelance fashion writer and I'm working at the business of fashion.
I'm Daryoush Haj-Najafi and I work for Complex in the UK. So guys, I don't know, Tianlei, maybe you can start us off with why you're excited about the Sankuanz show.
Well, I think the reason GQ choose him is because he's very unique and well, he represents certain kind of group of Chinese young people which are very intelligent and political and rebellious, and yeah, I think that's the reason we choose him. And last season he made such a statement. I don't know whether you understand those tattoo and those foreign language, but I mean basically it's about it's very political, and it was about communism, I think. And I feel like, how dare you to make such a communist statement in a capitalist country, and which is great. I find it's really fun, and also I was late for the show. I was standing next to the cameraman, so I can see people's reaction, and I saw fear from people's face, which is amazing because it just reminds me of Vivian Westwood's show, and people feel intimidated and disgusted and even disturbed, and I think that's a reaction for something new.
Wow, that sounds good.
Just to clarify, when you saw the show, did you see it in London or did you see it
London.
in Shanghai? Okay.
Yes, last season.
Okay.
Oh, why am I excited about it? Well, I mean, I think I was just saying before we started filming, I think it's extraordinary that a magazine with this respectable reputation like GQ is bringing such a fresh and rebellious, spirited designer over to represent them in London. I mean, I think in part maybe it's a response to London's reputation as being quite a kind of rebellious fashion centre. But I mean, still, this is the one design they're supporting across 2 seasons. It says really exciting things about the magazine and about the scene that he's representing. I mean, one thing that I found really interesting in looking at previous collaborations, or previous collections, sorry, is the way that he collaborates quite often with artists, with other designers, and that he seems to see this label not just as his personal self-expression, but as a kind of platform for all kinds of different creative people in his, where is it he works,
Xiamen.
And so that it's kind of representing not just him, but it seems like it represents a community of creativity.
Yeah, indeed. I agree with you because Zhang he's not based in Beijing or Shanghai, one of those big cities where I have lots of designers. He is based in Xiamen. It's like a southern coastal city. It's not very big, but it's famous for garment manufacturing industry. And I think he is one of the generation of designer where you have a rich source of manufacturing like supporting, and then you come with such a strong creativity opinion. So I think for him, actually it's easier to make the realization of production and idea and creativity and lots of stuff. And I think that's also one of the reasons why GQ is picking him, because he can make clothes and can actually sell clothes. Some of the designer, some of Chinese designers, they can create really beautiful clothes, but the problem is that when it comes to production, there's no factory to support the designer to actually make the clothes and sell to the distributor in the world. But I don't think there's a problem with him. So I think GQ is making a smart choice because not only he knows how to work with designers and artists, he also knows how to deal with the business. Because when you go to Chinese buyer stores in Shanghai or all the big cities in China, actually he's one of the most popular designer sellers in the whole store.
Okay.
So he get a really good credentials to be presented here. Yeah.
And what do we think so for people who don't know, he's worked with his thing is working with artists. I don't know really very much about the artists he's worked with. Do you guys know something about those?
Well, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, I'm really sorry, but I think it's Zhao that he worked with in the last 2 seasons. I mean, he seems really, really out there. As a point of comparison, I'd probably say something like Tianwei as, you know, this idea of somebody that's working within a scene that's creating quite a kind of subculture-rich atmosphere, that's really playing with issues of gender and sexuality, that's playing with issues of outrage, that's referencing things like Japanese Buto, but also, you know, American pop culture and things like, you know, South Park. And, you know, it's quite interesting looking at his work, which is kind of based in performance, it's based in video, it's based in creating installations where you can almost use it like a kind of social space. And again, I think that goes back to this idea that we were talking about earlier of Sankuanz's kind of collections really representing a community. And that seems to kind of connect quite strongly to the artist, or that particular artist that he's worked with before. I don't know which artist he's collaborating with today.
Do you guys?
Yeah, indeed. I think Sankuanz, he actually changes style when he's ready to launch for a big collection. I think the first big collection that he got like mass noticed, the collection where he did his first collaboration with the Tibetan like influence, like all the those like embroideries on the coat and all the stuff. And then eventually he become quite out there, use daring elements like Russian tattoos and Southern Park, and this season Japanese subcultures to make the design. But I remember when he was just, you know, becoming a designer, early 2008, 2009, his clothes is quite miniature and it's still quite generic. At that time, he was already ones to watch, but not as like distinctive as he is now. And then over the years, I think he gradually managed to find his design language with something more eye-catching. And I think that's definitely a good thing because, you know, it's the Instagram era. Everything has to look popping in the pictures. You know, a black dress used to sell quite well, but now it's just like you have to add something, you know, more shareable after the filter you add on the pictures. I think that's one of the reasons why he's quite clever to deal with the internet era, to add lots of graphic and lots of color on the clothes.
And yeah, because I mean, last season there was all the huge monster kind of hand
claws.
Yeah, it was quite fantastic. Yeah. I mean, it's quite strange because I saw a tiny bit of similarity in the massive graphicness and kind of almost comic book kind of things as cakewalks work. Like just in the am I saying that right?
Cakewalk, yeah.
Yeah, just in the kind of graphic, kind of you could almost imagine it in a computer game kind of thing. And I was wondering, Tianlei, why, since you work at GQ, why you think GQ, you know, if there's something that defines the kind of designers GQ are going for. I mean, obviously Xander Zhu is nothing like these two.
Yes.
But yeah, I just wondered if you could shed some light on their thinking about the kinds of designers that GQ China choose.
I don't think we have particularly kind, but we are just constantly seeking for something new, something representative. And the interesting about Sankuanz is he never studied in Western country, and I find very intriguing about her because well, this person living a small city in China, I mean, past 30 years, and I feel like, well, it's time to like someone like him to say something, and again, the reason I like him because he's very political. He's you know, and he's very sarcastic about those, you know, a lot of Western people, like, they're obsessed with this kind of foreign letters as tattoo on their body, and without even, you know, think about what those things means behind. And well, he used a lot of those tattoos from Russian prisoner at the late of the Soviet Union time, and he used a lot of communist slogan like like square, like peas, you know, squared, this kind of thing is very socialist and the communist thing. And I find it's very, his work is very opulent, but in a modern way. And
I'm really interested by what you're saying about how he's not studied abroad in Europe. Is there a kind of tension in the Chinese fashion scene at the moment between people that have kind of been to study somewhere like Central St. Martin's and people that have studied at home?
No, I don't think there's a clear boundary, but it's just I think it's not intention. It's not intention. Yeah, but well, he's from a city called Xiamen, which is a really relaxed city. A city with a port, and they have a long history of receiving Western culture, and it is really chill out. And and I found there's a huge difference between him and Zhang Zhou, because well, Zhang Zhou is more like he's kind and sweet and charming. He's the kind of person you want to spend the whole day with him. Pick up strawberries and comb each other's hair and paint each other's nails, but. Sankuanz is more like, well, you need to hide yourself somewhere and be quiet and discreet, and just keep, just being observative about things, because lots of things he just won't tell you. You just need to think, by yourself and be reflective. Sometimes, I just a little bit fed up because I feel like, I should just lock you up in the dungeon and just torture you and give me the damn information. He's very relaxed and laid back, and
he claims. I noticed in the there was an article on him on cool hunting. I don't really read that website, but anyway. But there was an article on there about him, and he was quoted denying that he was at all political. He's denying that he was at all political, denying that there was any big mission. He said he was just having fun and being him.
Well, that's what Mutual Prada says about people say, she's political, she's intellectual. And we talk about a little bit about Mutual Prada, so I don't know, we talk about the ugly aesthetic, and we talk about, he was quite intrigued by, she was, communist and all this kind of thing. I don't know.
Well, one of the reasons I think why GQ picks him is because it's different. Because I think what GQ is trying to do here is to break the stereotype of Chinese fashion designers. Because actually a few days ago, Matt, they did the China exhibition preview in the Forbidden City in Beijing, and it was it got really bad review online because it is so cliche and it's so 30 years ago. Everything is still dragon, porcelain, and everything like that. But what happened in the past 30 years that China has changed a lot, and I think new designers like Xander, Keiko, and Sankuanz, they are emerging and they're bringing lots of new identity to Chinese fashion design. So I think GQ is doing the right thing, because you cannot always show Cheongsam and all the very, very traditional stuff. Something must be new, and they might be totally relevant to the history, but at least it's something reflecting the zeitgeist of the modern China.
When you talk about reflecting the zeitgeist of modern China, again, one thing that's really striking with what he's doing in his collections is talking about how it's kind of gender neutral.
Yep.
And there's a lot of play with sexuality and gender.
Yeah, it's true.
And is that reflecting the zeitgeist of modern China?
Well, I have to say there's lots of people who is geeky Chinese people, online users, they are very into Japanese mangas and all of an androgyny kind of style. And since I don't want to say this, but I do believe that Asian comparing to Caucasian, they does show less masculinity in many ways, and I think the androgynous, or as in the Japanese way, say grass-eating guy, which means they're harmless and they're really nice, but they're not gay, and yet they're really, really, playing and really kind of that way. And I think Sankuanz, he really catch that point and make it in a more colorful and fun way, because I think, as he says, Sankuanz, he is. There's lots of things going on in his mind, but he refuses to share with people. So what you see and what you read from him is from his clothes. Yeah.
I totally agree with Tianwei, and I think it's such a cliche if you think about, Chinese fashion is supposed to be like that. It's just 70s Chinese takeaways, all about sweet and sour chicken. and we want to bring something genuine. We want to bring something nice and fresh and modern, I think.
Yeah, just by the way,
It's
we don't
not
eat that much sweet and sour chicken in China.
Yeah, it's not about rope with embroidery, you know, oriental flowers and the birds. It's just, yeah, because, you know, we are a new country.
When I was, this is a slight tangent, but when I was working at Vice, I was speaking to the Chinese editor at Vice. I was working on this story about the international compilation of chavs, for want of a better word. Horrendous, terrible word, but you know what I mean. So, and the editor said there is no such thing in China. There is no sort of underclass style.
Well, underclass is really underclass in China. If you're talking to, there's not like a wealth system for you to at least have some sort of education to know about a little bit about fashion and care about the dressing. If it's underclass in China, it's really hardworking people working in like a construction site or in the landfill. So, but I believe that now it's different because since Vice is expanding in China as well, and I'm keen read of Vice and Vice China. I think now in Beijing and Shanghai, big cities where you have the working class and especially the lower working class, those kids, they grew up in the city, and I think they have a very similar, growing up history with those chap you're talking about in the London or other city in the world. And I think such culture is emerging. And I don't know if you have heard there's one style called smart in China.
Smart.
We call it shamate. It's basically like Vigilokai in Japan, but it's like more terrible. They dye their hair blonde or purple with the long length. It's a little bit like golf and other those Mohican hairs, Mohawk hair in the 80s. But they did it in a very Chinese and very, we call it suburbia kind of way. I think this is what the kind of style you're referring to, but the thing is that it's a highly, how should you say, it's highly overlooked kind of style because not many mainstream media care about it. It exists only in the suburb and they only share via their personal internet accounts, and I think you know a little bit about it as well. It was at some point a talking point in the Chinese fashion industry.
Well, you were talking about the
shamate.
Oh yes, it's very exaggerated, cartoony thing, and those people usually they live in, as you said, they live in suburbs, and it's kind of this kind of aesthetics or taste, you can say, it's kind of, I mean, it's very, I don't know, disconnected, because they cannot receive too much information about those Western fashions, and they just start to build up their dreams and live in their dreams.
And what, just one other question before we look at the show. I'm just curious, obviously it's quite fantastic for London that GQ China have chosen London rather than Paris or Milan to do the show, but I'm sort of just can't help but wonder which city will have, surely in the next 10 years, one Asian city will emerge with a fashion week. I mean, it just seems impossible for this not to happen. As an important, will it be Shanghai? Will it be Tokyo? Will it be Seoul? Which do you think, which has got the strongest?
If you talk about economy, I think definitely Shanghai.
Yeah. I actually interviewed lots of Chinese industry people for my market report. Later last year, I asked lots of questions about editor-in-chief or the stylists in China. Well, the general idea is that they do think Shanghai in some way in 10 years or 20 years will become a fashion capital, but it will be a very different fashion capital from the existing one. It will somehow similar to Tokyo. I think they believe that Chinese will grow into a market of its own, where Chinese designer is equally important Western designer, but not surpassing Western designer, because luxury will still has its market in China, given the fact that we're still in a long way under the development, and the needs for opulence consumptions and showing off consumption will still be there. but they still believe that like new designer like Sankuanz and Zhang, they will become the mainstream, just like Yohji Yamamoto and Rei Kawakubo when they did in the 60s and the 70s. And I think China also is in the stage where Japan was in the 60s and the 70s, but of course in the much faster pace. And personally, I do believe that Shanghai will be the fashion capital, because I was in Shanghai last month and I talked to those people who is in a part of the organization of the Huangpu district where the Shanghai Fashion Week is held. And they say the government is trying to use any way possible to make like the Huangpu district, the meatpacking district of Shanghai. They gave the free, like a low rent space to Condé Nast Education in China to open a fashion college there, and then they give lower rent to luxury brands and emerging designers, even give them free apartments and studios to work in that district to make it more, creative, and to get people to go there not only shop but actually make clothes. And I think the government also aware that creativity is the next stage. I mean, manufacturing and production, it's like very primitive. They know, something needs to be changed. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
I came back to China last summer, and I found it's great because I stay in London, New York for a long time, and I feel this kind of everything is possible, this kind of attitude, and which you just cannot experience in London. And I came to Shanghai, and there's like certain areas, kind of fashion area, stylish area. All those wealthy Chinese girls, I mean, they wear like whole piece Chanel or Dior. And it's just amazing. I mean, it's just, I think younger generation, they are just very self-conscious and very fashion conscious as well. I think it's much more conscious than here, because I think we are living in a society now. I don't think the majority of people care about fashion. I don't think people care about fashion anymore.
Here?
Here or America or whole Europe. I don't think people, I don't know, because I study a lot about British aesthetic, this kind of thing, I think.
Maybe that's kind of it's considered, it's our style, isn't it, to pretend we don't care. That's the, I remember working out the best way to look rich was to look messy when I was a kid. Shall we look at the show, guys? Thank you.
Oh, we're even higher up and further away from the images now.
Yeah, basically the theme of the collection is Dolphin Hotel. Dolphin Hotel. And basically it's like a hotel where you live, and then you just like imagine stuff, and then you get really messy inside. You can see their model face, they all have like a scar where they get punched. And I was at the backstage, and the designer did not tell me much about why they get punched, but they just did. And all the prints are the collaboration of a designer where the artist is a new girl. She drew all the prints for him exclusively for these collections. And you can see this collection is still him, I think. It's really colorful and it's really chaotic.
And the aspect we were talking about earlier, where it's this kind of a, not so much gender neutral, but really playing with aspects of male and female dress. I mean, with those things that were the dress shirt.
Yeah, dress
front,
shirt.
Kind of moving down into what looked like a robe. Yeah. Wonderful. And again, I can't really see the details very much, but are these quite cartoon driven in the prints?
Yeah.
Is that a feathered cape? I think we saw a little detail.
It's not feathered, it's all plastic.
It's all plastic?
It's all plastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite nice. That's that quite kind of trashy element to it.
Yeah, trashy. On trend. If it's real fur, it's not fun anymore.
Yeah. It's very glamorous, isn't it?
It is. It is. And then he put his name on the belt. I think Chinese customer, they just love the designer's name on the belt, so they can show off in a very low budget.
Yeah, that's
And is this all embroidered onto these, the jacket and the coat here, or is that
Some are
on?
embroidered, some are just prints.
That's quite
I'm very
amazing.
interested in that one. Actually, I don't know who the woman is on that look.
Is it one woman's face repeated?
It's one woman and then just like copy paste all over the body.
You know, this sort of opulence just remind me of the, what's that film called? Sebastian by Daryoush. You know, I don't know. Last time, you know, those massive hands reminds me of this kind of Roman orgy party. This kind of, I don't know why. I just find this kind of certain camp things about it, and it's very opulent.
Well, there was quite a lot of flesh on display earlier, wasn't there?
See, it's strange. I wouldn't have described his collections as camp.
You don't think it's camp?
No, I definitely thought there was androgyny, but I didn't see it as camp. That's interesting that you say that. Why do you say that, Tianlei?
I think there's certain kind of Asian camp looking about it, and
it's quite an interesting mixture of. I mean, that's a very American shape on the far right. To me, it feels like, you know, kind of really kind of classic American sportswear influence stuff. But then together with this British, quite military kind of a uniform thing with the the cutaway jackets and these little quite braced in waistcoats as well.
Yeah, he said he loves to collect military uniforms and study those, you know, the cutting and tailoring skills.
Also, he told me backstage that this collection is like a mixture of like court dress shape and very feminine fabric. I think he's just loved to mass like two extreme stuff into one thing and somehow make it work. Because I think from him, making a collection, you know, selling clothes aside, it's about having fun. And you can tell he's really enjoying his clothes.
And they look like they're easy and fun clothes to wear as well. In the sense, like,
exactly.
You know, it's really kind of quite joyous, but also rebellious.
Rebellious in a wearable way. I wouldn't say those like crazy and wearable. Like, if you just like deconstruct the whole look, you can actually dissect them into like several pieces, and you can just wear in different locations, like in a less chaotic way. Yeah,
I mean, the chaotic is an interesting word, because I mean the styling of that middle look is quite something, just in terms of what it's bringing together.
Yeah.
There's lots of baggy trousers there.
Yeah.
It's very Asian thing.
Lots of capri pants as well.
Yeah.
Do you think it's possible to get some looks at some close-up details of the?
You can see his fabrics are all very shiny.
Yeah. So that looks like embroidery on that.
Yeah.
Kind
Does
of
this
jacket.
Does this tap into any wider Chinese trends, would you say? The show or the...
I think it's unique.
I think it's very cultish.
Yeah.
I don't think it's for everybody.
It's not for everybody.
How would you describe the people in the cult?
It's hard to say. Lots of people buy his clothes, and those people are very different. But I think most of them, they have an overseas education background and knows how to appreciate these kind of clothes. Because usually in China, they just wear Givenchy or Comme des Garçons, because they're still, you know, highly influenced by the Hong Kong press and the Japanese era, and they haven't changed the aesthetic like for a long time, or just jump right into Yves Saint Laurent by Hedi Slimane. But I think some young people, they will appreciate such kind of aesthetic and clothes, and they're daring to wear it.
And he showed for the opening of the Tokyo Dover Street, right? Or
he was like what I heard is that he was in like Dover Street in Okomosando.
Yes.
And like his first collection was in there. The Kawakubo really like his clothes, and and
he got three stockers in Los Angeles as well.
And he's also in opening ceremony.
Oh, who's that woman?
That's the thing I've been so curious. It looks like a graduation photo.
Yeah, she just looked like, you know, that sort of girl who constantly got bullied in high school. It's like Carrie, you know that film? It's like she just burned the house, you know.
What does the text say on that?
I don't know.
Is it fuck you?
I don't think, no.
Is it UCK and that word?
Yeah.
Like,
I was wondering whether
yeah.
we're missing some letters.
She might get bullied.
Yeah.
Or maybe this is her fuck you to the people that bullied her.
Yeah. And the one next to it is quite interesting. I thought it's a shirt and then he deliberately put it out on the side, but actually it's a court dress shape.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And is that like just a lot of underwear showing, or is that?
Yeah. I think it's underwear.
Yeah, because that's quite a combination. But it looks like it's almost underwear with the same pattern from the lady's face on it.
Yeah.
It is actually, yes.
It does.
Yeah.
There have been some amazing button details as well. I noticed there was one very long fly earlier which had, like 50, loads and loads of little, and they had that on the kind of lilac suit as well.
And what's the situation with, because obviously, you know, from all the GQ shows, obviously reality means and budgets have meant that lots of Western models have had to be used. But I know with the Japanese, you know, Western models are a big thing, and I've sort of observed that in China you guys use more Chinese models, but I just wondered if he was showing at home, would he be showing a mixture, or would he be showing Chinese models, or would he be showing Western models?
It would be always a mixture, because still I think Western model for Chinese designer, they can demonstrate the clothes better because of the physique, and the other thing is that there's really a lack of Chinese male model, especially good Chinese male models. So when, well, of course, when he shows in Shanghai Fashion Week, he will use maybe like half-half.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to find really good-looking Caucasian models in China, I find. They usually look quite vile.
Because there's not many modeling
Really?
agencies in Shanghai that specialize in male model.
So good-looking, skinny, tall guys should get on a plane then.
Yeah. I mean, all my friends who are tall, skinny, and exotic looking, they all got like stopped in the street by like agents or like those, I don't know how to call them, those people who are saying, would you want to be a model?
Scout.
Yeah.
Scout, yeah.
The palette of the first half of the collection is absolutely extraordinary, and it's very, I mean, it's so synthetic, but you know, it's a real blast.
Yeah.
And do a lot of girls buy this?
I do see some girls wear his clothes. And I don't know what size of the sizing of his clothes here, but in China his size is quite tight.
It's quite small.
So girls can actually wear them. And one of the store that sells his clothes is Dongliang in Shanghai. Mostly the store sells women's wear, but I think he's the only male designer that it sells in the whole store.
Did you see his collections for women before he started designing for men?
I think he only does menswear.
Okay, I thought he'd done a couple of collections, maybe under a different name.
Possibly, I'm not sure.
For women.
But he's always known for as a menswear designer.
I'm quite curious about those cuts, because there's certain Asian cutting skills it's only for Asian people, and because lots of Asian people are quite small, and so the blades have got to be very small. That's the reason I can't wear Japanese fashion, because if I got a blazer from a junior Wanatabi, my bum's just literally hanging out. So
But these ones do seem, I mean, after you say that, these two looks here, they seem like deliberately outsized, deliberately like they're absolutely cloaking the entire body, like you're wearing somebody's suit that's too big for you. Do you think that's a kind of comment on that? Perhaps there's some kind of reference to the difference in sizing? Or
yes, I think it's sort of this kind of yearning for adulthood.
Whereas the military style kind of is much more body conscious, isn't it? It's it's quite sexy.
Oh yeah, those guys look very furious, and I love that.
Because it's got punched.
Yes. Fast and Furious.
Actually, I'm curious about what was going to happen next season because GQ only sponsored designer for 2 seasons. So if Sankuanz want to stay in London, he need to find a sponsorship. Just
Yes,
like
it's really
Sandy did.
expensive. I was quite concerned about him because it's not cheap to have a show here.
Yeah.
But as I said again, British Fashion Council is being very supportive towards young designers. But I don't think you can, in Paris or Milan, they even can't put your names on the calendar. Yeah.
What so with Xander, is it an astute move, him keeping his show here? Like, does it play well at home having a show in London?
Oh,
He's been doing quite well. He's almost like a celebrity in China, actually. He was on the cover of Modern Weekly and as like one of the key opinion leaders in China. And yeah. But I think Sankuanz and Xander, they have different paths because Xander is really conscious about being a celebrity himself. But I think for Sankuanz, he's more like a behind the scene person. Yeah.
And is his market at home always going to be much more important than an export market?
Yeah, but funny thing is that you can see lots of places selling his clothes, but you don't really see much clothes selling Xander's clothes.
Okay.
That's a mystery that I find it hard to understand.
And I'm really interested with you talking about how popular and how well his clothes sell, because I guess if you take a comparably out there British menswear designer, it's a super niche market.
Super niche.
You know, it's so gorgeous seeing you wearing Craig Green here, but I mean, I don't know how many stockists he has in the UK. I can't imagine it's that large.
Yeah.
And for all that he's got, you know, incredible acclaim as a designer.
Well, now he's only exclusive Dover Street, that's why.
Yeah.
But I think after next season, he will be quite popular.
Yeah.
But I think, as you say, it's quite a niche market here. You can only have few stores out there to choose. But I think what London designer they look for is the international markets, like the Marcus Almeida. You don't see much place selling here, but when you go abroad, every shop have them.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. There are a lot of ideas going into this collection. It's quite. I mean, it's kind of shooting through a lot of stuff quite fast.
I would like to know what they represent. Those prints, each print what represent, because I do find one of the look on the coat, the print does looks like, you know, the genital of the dolphin. Okay. Pink.
I wouldn't
long.
know what a dolphin's genital look like, actually.
Basically like a look at pig's one.
Okay.
If I've been to Soho. And I think there's a lot of like very sexy symbol.
Okay. So it's all embroidered on, but it's actually kind of
but it makes it very cartoonish, so you couldn't really tell if they are, but they look similar.
Okay. Yeah, because he definitely had kind of a kind of penis graphic on the last collection, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Which I don't know if that came from a tattoo.
Last season wasn't just penis graphic. There's a lot of very controversial, like
the Russial criminal tattoos.
Not just those sentences on the clothes.
Yes.
Order from chaos.
Very chaos and somehow really rude. Some of them.
Yeah, because as I said again, there's lots of political things going on.
It's like making fun of the politics.
Yeah, I just wondering what Margaret Thatcher or what's his name? Edgar Hoover thinks about those communist slogans.
And I remember last season the background music was like the song "I Love Beijing Tiananmen Square," which is like a very popular like a child song in China, but obviously used that in a very with a very different purpose.
I mean, I do think Chinese people in general are quite political and are very rebellious. I mean, you're talking about a country, I mean, with have two revolutions within a century, and it's all
but
political
they're all
reason.
trying to find a way to hide it very discreetly. So if you get it, you laugh. You don't, it's beautiful clothes.
I mean, it's making rebellion look extremely glamorous and alluring as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Which I guess is quite different to the kind of style that you'd imagine with Chinese political rebellion, which is, I guess, more
red.
Yeah. Well, not so much red, but more just plain clothing. And,
plain clothing.
Whereas this is quite the opposite.
Yeah. But I think that in general, most young Chinese designers I know, they are trying to market themselves differently from Japanese designers, because there was a time they all like just learn from Japanese designer, all black, very loose shape. But now they try to bring more diversity and like something new to them. And I think Sankuanz is one of them. very different.
No, it's interesting you're saying that because I mean I guess we associate Japanese designers with that particular era of Japanese designers, but I was actually looking at the prints that he used in the first half of this collection. I was actually thinking about a Japanese fashion photographer called Mika Ninagawa, and in fact those colours and that kind of mashup of everything absolutely together and it being really luminous actually very much reminds me of her work. So I guess it's obviously a different generation.
It's a different generation,
I thought it was interesting when you guys were just talking about politics earlier. I don't know if any of you saw the skateboarding film This Isn't California about East Germany, and it's just about a skateboarder. But the interesting thing there is that he ends up becoming a sort of rebel against the system, but not because he's got a problem with the system, just because he is a skateboarder and he just wants to skate. And it's just about the human spirit and the sort of innate rebellion of being alive, and it's almost the politics were almost nothing to do with it in a way. It's just the rebellion of, and you can see that in so much fashion. There's a kind of statement about just being alive, having. I can't really think of the
shouting existence.
Shouting existence, and how if existence is, and exactly, shouting is thank you. That's perfect. And I thought that was really interesting because he gave gave absolutely no care or consideration to the
election or whatever that's going on. Yeah.
But he was just couldn't help but need to skate and need to dress like a skater.
In terms of this collection, you were picking up on the belts beforehand and the fact that they had his name on the belt. Although the last two collections seemed very graphic, I wasn't aware of the fact that he was kind of creating a logo for him. So is this a kind of new step forward, do you think, in kind of trying to present a really visual, recognisable branding?
Yeah. Branding is very essential.
I don't pick up on that much from here. I can't pick up on that many Chinese luxury brands. We hear about designers, but we're not hearing about a brand. And yet, I know with some of the consumer goods companies, so you have Haier and stuff, where it's almost like the branding is almost pretend Western branding to make consumers feel more comfortable. But I'm surprised with Chinese fashion that there isn't more brands coming through.
There are some brands, but they just focus on a different market because they know there's no way they can compete with Louis Vuitton or Chanel, so they just market it into secondary market, like those fourth or fifth tier of Chinese city where they can actually make money through those people who only watch TV. So that's why they only advertise through TV. That's true. They don't do much. They don't advertise on fashion magazine. They go through the TV channel and other stuff. So it's a very original market, I think.
I think they probably
made lots of money, but people never heard of them here.
I think they earn more money than Chanel.
Yeah, they did.
There's
like billion level.
There's a fashion brand, I can't remember the name, it's sort of like Chinese bourgeoisie woman's favorite, what's it called? Like the brand, the First Lady of China won that.
Exception, the Mixed Mind.
They made a lot.
What's it called?
Exception, the Mixed Mind.
The Mixed Mind?
Yeah.
So is that the Michael Kors of China?
Not, I don't know how to describe that brand. It's really loose, it's really earthy color.
It's sort of like Chinese intellectual women love to wear that with short hair, short hairs, and they usually wear this kind of really ugly shoes like campers.
Oh wow! Yeah.
So they have a certain group of people wear that kind of clothes, and they dress up similar, or they probably. I think if people buy money in China, they probably will buy that brand.
Exception the Mixed Mind.
Yeah.
Check this out. I need closing comments, guys, so you can go to Craig Green. So,
Great.
Okay.
So, Tianlei, let's start with you.
Can I do it later?
Oh, okay. Tianwei, let's start
Okay,
with you.
cool. I really love this collection. I think Sankuanz is doing quite well, and next season, no matter if he's in London or not, I think he's already have a very good career. And I really look forward on what GQ China brings to London next time, because there's a lot of talented designer in China that in desperate need of international exposure, and this is such a wonderful opportunity, you know, for more young talents in China, whether they study here or in our home countries. They do deserve to be seen.
Hettie.
I'm really excited to see such dynamic fashion design coming out of China. He's got no shortage of ideas. I love his collaborative spirit. I think that's really important. I think it's a really good message within fashion to talk about the importance of working within a team of people. It'd be great to see his career progressing. I'd really love to see the clothes close up. I deeply regret that I'm seeing them on relatively small images, so it'd be good to get a sense more of the detail.
Fantastic. Okay, it's your turn now. There's nothing you can do.
Yes, I'm still thinking about this collection, and I think it will take me a long time to think about it, which is quite exciting thing to do. It's like, you know, as I said again, it's very Prada-y thing to do. You know, you need to think over over time, and this is very reflective. This is about Chinese fashion. It's about Chinese young people, and so you know, if you're interested in China, if you're interested in Chinese fashion, you know, go there and see what's going on instead of, you know, just sitting in front of telly and eat Chinese takeaway and watching BBC News. And again, Chinese is not about sweet and sour chicken, or it's not about robes with beautiful embroideries. It's about these because, you know, it's new and modern, and that's what we are seeking for. You know, for something unique and representative. Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you very, very much, guys. Thank you for such informed discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.